In this video we're going to have a look at ordering decimals, okay, from smallest to biggest to smallest. So in the past we've looked at number lines in between 0 and 10, 0 and 100, 0 and 1000 and so on, but we can start now to zoom in onto number lines and have an idea of what goes on in between numbers. So consider this number line here where on the left we've got 0 and on the right we've got 1. And hopefully you can see that we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, like 10 spaces altogether. So what we've got here is we've got 1 that has been split into 10 parts. Okay, so that means that each of these individual parts is going to represent 0.1. Okay, it might be helpful to identify what's halfway first. So 0.1, 0.2, 0.3. Here's 0.5. And then we'll have 0.1. 0.7, 0.2, 0.7, 0.8, and 0.9. Just a few wee comments about some of these things. Let's just look at 0.3. I'm just going to write this up here. 0.3 means that we have 0 units and 3 tenths. Okay, because this would be our tenths column here. But 0.3 is the exact same as 0.30, because what that's saying is there's 0 units, 3 tenths, and 0 hundredths. Let's put hundredths. Let me rewrite that a little bit. Okay, so although this looks like 3 and this looks like 30, they actually represent the same amount. Similarly, 0.9 is the exact same as 0.900, because here we've got 9 tenths, here I've got 9 tenths, 0 hundredths and 0 thousandths, so ultimately I've still got 9 tenths. Okay, so there's different ways that we can communicate them. Obviously in between these numbers we can zoom in. For example, if I wanted to put a different number, I might say that 0.62 might be somewhere here. 0.29 might be somewhere here. Okay, because that would be in between 0.20 and 0.30. Okay, and it'll be closer to 0.30. So we can use these ideas to help us arrange numbers and order decimals in a given destination. So here we want to do it from smallest to biggest. Okay, so arrange the following from smallest to biggest: 0.8, 0.65, 0.1, 0.32. And I'm going to try and keep this up here. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to mark these on. So 0.8 is going to be here. So I've done that one. 0.65, well here's 0.6 and 0.7. So 0.65 is going to be in the middle. 0.9 is over here. 0.1 is here. And then 0.32. So 0.32 is going to be in between 0.3 and 0.4. It'll be somewhere here. Okay, so that should hopefully help us identify where they are on the number line. So if we want to write them in order, we're going to be 0.1, 0.32, 0.65, 0.8, and 0.9. But sometimes we're not always going to have a number line that we can physically mark on, and we need to be able to have a strategy to be able to cope with this. Can I tell you the mistake that happens here? People say that 0.65 is bigger than 0.9. And hopefully it's quite obvious as to why they do that. Because they look at this thing, they say, okay, that's 65 and that's 9, and 65 is bigger than 9. But hopefully you can see that both of these numbers have a different number of decimal places. So if we want to compare numbers, we want them to have the same number of decimal places. And if we recall, 0.9 is the same as 0.90. And we can see then clearly that 0.65 is not bigger than 0.90. So this is garbage. Okay, so if we want to compare decimals, it's easier if they've got the same number of decimal places. Example 2, we'll do these from smallest to biggest. So we need to think about, do they all have the same number of decimal places? And you can see they don't. The first one's got, this has got 1 decimal place, this has got 2, this has got 2, this has got 3, and this has got 1. So it might be a good idea to rewrite them so that they all have 3 decimal places. So I'm going to do 0, 0, I'll put a wee 0 on the end here. I'll put a 0 on the end here. This is already 3, and I'll make this 3. Because now that we have done this, it's hopefully quite straightforward to identify what's the biggest and what's the smallest. Okay, if we're looking for the smallest, it's going to be 2.2. It's going to be this guy here. Okay, so I'm just going to put 2.2. Then we're going to have 2.22. Then we'll get 2.302. 2.42 and 2.7. Okay, once again, the mistake is that people say that this is bigger than this. That is wrong, because we need to make sure we've got the same number of decimal places. Here we've got 2, so if we add in a 0, this number is still the same, but we can see that 2.42 is not bigger than 2.72. Okay, so that's the one thing you need to watch out for when you're ordering decimals. Thanks very much.